Welcome to This Explainer. We're about to trace an absolutely incredible 80-year journey, from testing explosive early rockets all the way to literally building our future homes on Mars. It's a wild story of science, high-stakes politics, and ultimately human survival.
So here's a massive question for you. How do you build a home on a world with literally no air? Well, before we can even begin to answer that profound question about our ultimate survival, we have to look back at the historical stepping stones that got us here. Because, we didn't just wake up one morning with the technology to 3D print a Martian habitat. It took decades of intense trial, error, and competition.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 4 main steps. 1, the early space race. 2, expanding our reach. 3, returning to the moon. And 4, surviving deep space. Let's jump right into part 1, the early space race.
Now, back in the mid-20th century, space exploration wasn't just about scientific discovery. It was a super high-stakes geopolitical race for dominance. Just look at how fast things escalated here. We start in 1945, testing captured V-2 rockets right after World War II. Then boom, just 12 years later in 1957, the Soviet Union absolutely shocks the world by launching Sputnik. Fast forward to 1961, Yuri Gagarin makes history as the first human in space. And then, a mere 24 years after those initial rocket tests, Neil Armstrong is leaving the first human footprint on the moon in 1969. The pace was literally staggering.
And what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast in how these two superpowers operated. The U.S. space program operated mostly in the public eye. They had highly publicized launches led by civilian agencies, which meant the whole world also watched their failures. But the Soviet Union, they used what historians actually call a space curtain of extreme secrecy. You wouldn't even hear about a launch until it succeeded, and their cosmonauts were totally anonymous until they were literally up in orbit. The main takeaway here is that programs like Project Gemini were absolutely vital stepping stones. NASA couldn't just jump straight to the moon. They had to build Geminis specifically to solve massive technical and survival challenges. They needed to test 14-day flights, figure out how 2 spacecraft could actually meet up and dock in orbit, and understand what happens to the human body in zero gravity over time. Without these answers, the Apollo lunar missions would have been completely impossible.
Moving on to part 2, expanding our reach.
So we won the race to the moon, right? After that, humanity's focus really broadened out to the wider cosmos. We shifted from that intense sprint to a longer-term vision, pushing way past our immediate neighborhood with the Voyager probes. Traveling at nearly 40,000 miles per hour, Voyager 1 and 2 are a monumental leap. They are the only human-made objects to ever leave the heliosphere, that's the protective magnetic bubble around our sun, and cross over into true interstellar space. This is where we really transitioned from proving political points to conducting rigorous, long-term science. We deployed legendary tools like the Hubble telescope in 1990, and more recently, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is peering back to the very dawn of the universe. Down on the surface, you've got the Perseverance rover collecting core samples on Mars right now, and missions like OSIRIS-APEX studying asteroids. We are out there actively hunting for the origins of our solar system and the potential for life. Okay, part 3, returning to the moon. Let's look at our current and probably most ambitious goal yet. We aren't just going back to leave a few more footprints. We plan to stay, sustainably. Our primary target is the lunar South Pole's Shackleton crater. To give you a sense of the sheer scale here, look at that white ring overlaid on the crater. That's the Washington, D.C. Capitol Beltway, a highway over 60 miles long. We're targeting massive geographical features like this because they're believed to be incredibly rich in local resources, specifically water ice. And water ice is absolutely the key to off-world survival. We're setting a historic precedent here through modern initiatives like the Artemis missions and the PRISM program. We're not just sending astronauts, we're utilizing commercial partners like SpaceX for cargo deliveries. And get this, NASA is actually planning to purchase extracted lunar resources from the private sector, all while complying with the Outer Space Treaty. We are literally building the foundation for a sustainable off-world economy. It's a total game changer. And all of this surface activity is going to be supported by the Lunar Gateway. Think of it as an autonomous space station orbiting the moon. It'll be a staging point for expeditions down to the surface, but critically, it's going to test human endurance and space weather impacts because it'll be located completely outside of Earth's protective Van Allen radiation belts. Which brings us to part 4, surviving deep space. So this is the final frontier. How do we take everything we've learned from Gemini, Apollo, and Artemis and actually survive long-term on a hostile world like Mars?
The answer is a concept called ISRU, or in situ resource utilization. It's a critical concept, but it basically just means living off the alien land. We have to stop packing every single thing we need from Earth, which is ridiculously expensive and limits our reach, and instead learn to manufacture our own materials on site.
When you break it down, the process is just mind-blowing. We aren't going to send astronauts with a bag of hammers. Imagine getting to Mars and realizing you forgot a wrench. No, autonomous robots are going to go first. They'll harvest the local Martian dust, called regolith. Then they'll process it and mix that soil with special binders to create a sort of space-grade concrete. Finally, using advanced robotics, they will 3D print heavily shielded habitats. And they'll do the whole shebang autonomously, long before a human crew even arrives.
As you can see, this absolutely isn't science fiction anymore. We are seeing real material science breakthroughs right now, optimizing the strength and radiation shielding of regolith-based concrete. It's the very technology making a sustainable human presence on other planets an actual, attainable reality. We're actively engineering our way into becoming a true, multiplanetary species.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. As we master the tech to build entirely new worlds and construct habitats millions of miles away, how will this reshape us back home? Will the immense ethical, logistical, and sociopolitical challenges of interstellar exploration finally be the thing that forces us to unite our own planet? Thank you for exploring this fascinating journey with me. Keep your eyes on the stars.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.